Welcome to Fortune Forecast. I am Daisy, your hostess, and you are in my book playlist. In this video, we continue with the book titled Self-Mastery Through Conscious Autosuggestion by Emile Coue. It was published in 1922 and it is in the public domain. If you're new to my channel and just landed on this video, glad you found us. If you would like to get caught up, please visit the book playlist and grab the previous videos. In the previous section, the author, Mr. Coue, attempted to offer a solution on how to improve the human race through autosuggestion at a very young age. And this could be found in his previous chapter titled Education as It Ought to Be. And he encouraged parents and educators to impress upon the young ones the love for growing strong education and work. You may agree with me, maybe you have seen it yourself in your own home, maybe in your parents' home, where parents sometimes just address their kids in an awful way. Oh, you're a slouch, you're lazy, you're a slob, you're fat, you're too slow, you're stupid, you're a dunce, and these become labels. And somewhere in the back of the child's mind, that stays in there until hopefully sometime as they're growing, they can address that for themselves and learn to forgive so that they can continue to grow. And we've also seen children being mean with each other, calling each other names. Now the question is this a learned behavior that they see at home? We're not going to change as a human race if we continue to go down the same path. I am one to condone healthy competition. This is how, as an individual, we can improve ourselves. But to say, wow, this person ran so fast, I wonder if I can do better. In that sense only, for yourself. And if you can do better, well, wow, you have shown and demonstrated to be a great future species moving forward. That could be applied in the sciences, the maths, in structures, in daily work. And individuals should be recognized, compensated, commended for the valiant effort in wanting to improve themselves. Enough on that. Let's move on now to this next section where the author now shares extracts from letters addressed to him. These serve as testimonials, and I myself, I'm a personal consultant, and I use the tarot to open up a conversation, almost like if you've ever seen Charlie Brown and you see Lucy at the little booth. It gives an opportunity for a light conversation to address different issues that are coming up in the mind, and people can begin to work these out on themselves. On my online consulting page, I do have a section of testimonials. I speak for myself, but when I receive a positive statement from someone that feels that they've received some value from my work and something that I offer, it serves as an encouragement that I am bringing something of value to the world and making a difference in someone's life. I'm looking forward to reading this next section as we get to listen to testimonials by many clients of Mr. Coue and their success with conscious autosuggestion. Let's move on as I turn the page. Extracts from letters addressed to Mr. Coue. The final results of the English secondary certificate have only been posted up these 2 hours, and I hasten to tell you about it, at least insofar as it concerns myself. I passed the Viva Voce with flying colors and scarcely felt a trace of the nervousness which used to cause me such an intolerable sensation of nausea before the tests. During the latter, I was astonished at my own calm, which gave those who listened to me the impression of perfect self-possession on my part. In short, It was just the test I dreaded most which contributed most to my success. The jury placed me second, and I am infinitely grateful to you for help, which undoubtedly gave me an advantage over the other candidates, etc. The case is that of a young lady who, on account of excessive nervousness, had failed in 1915. The nervousness having vanished under the influence of autosuggestion, she passed successfully, being placed second out of more than 200 competitors. From Mlle. V., Schoolmistress, August 1916. It is with great pleasure that I write to thank you most sincerely for the great benefit I have received from your method. Before I went to you, I had the greatest difficulty in walking 100 yards without being out of breath, whereas now I can go miles without fatigue. Several times a day and quite easily, I am able to walk in 40 minutes from the Rue du Bord-de-Leu to the Rue de la Glacis. That is to say, nearly 4 kilometers. The asthma from which I suffered has almost entirely disappeared. Yours, most gratefully, Paul Chéneau, Rue de Strasbourg, 141 Nancy, August 1917. I do not know how to thank you. Thanks to you, I can say that I am almost entirely cured, and I was only waiting to be so in order to express my gratitude. I was suffering from 2 varicose ulcers, one on each foot. That on the right foot, which was as big as my hand, is entirely cured. It seemed to disappear by magic. For weeks I had been confined to my bed, but almost immediately after I received your letter, the ulcer healed over so that I could get up. That on the left foot is not yet absolutely healed, but soon will be so. Night and morning I do, and always shall, recite the prescribed formula in which I have entire confidence. I may say also that my legs were as hard as stone, and I could not bear the slightest touch. Now I can press them without the least pain, and I can walk once more, which is the greatest joy. Madame Ligny, Malerancourt Charette, Haute-Saône, May 1918. N.B. It is worthy of remark that this lady never saw Mr. Coue, and that it is only thanks to a letter he wrote her on April 15th that she obtained the result announced in her letter of May 3rd. I am writing to express my gratitude, for thanks to you, I have escaped the risk of an operation which is always a very dangerous one. I can say more. You have saved my life, for your method of autosuggestion has done alone what all the medicines and treatments ordered for the terrible intestinal obstruction from which I suffered for 19 days had failed to do. From the moment when I followed your instructions and applied your excellent principles, my functions have accomplished themselves quite naturally. Madame S., Pont-et-Mousson, February 1920. I do not know how to thank you for my happiness in being cured. For more than 15 years, I had suffered from attacks of asthma, which caused the most painful suffocation every night. Thanks to your splendid method, and above all, since I was present at one of your seances, the attacks have disappeared as if by magic. It is a real miracle, for the various doctors who attended me all declared that there was no cure for asthma. Madame V., Saint D., February 1920. I am writing to thank you with all my heart for having brought to my knowledge a new therapeutic method, a marvelous instrument which seems to act like the magic wand of a fairy, since, thanks to the simplest means, it brings about the most extraordinary results. From the first, I was extremely interested in your experiments, and after my own personal success with your method, I began ardently to apply it, as I had become an enthusiastic supporter of it. Dr. Vacher, Vincennes, May 1920. For 8 years, I have suffered from prolapse of the uterus. I have used your method of autosuggestion for the last 5 months, and I am now completely cured, for which I do not know how to thank you enough. Madame Solier, Place du Marche, Toul, May 1920. I have suffered terribly for 11 years without respite. Every night I had attacks of asthma and suffered also from insomnia and general weakness which prevented any occupation. Mentally, I was depressed, restless, worried, and was inclined to make mountains out of molehills. I had followed my treatments without success, having even undergone in Switzerland the removal of the turbinate bone of the nose without obtaining any relief. In November 1918, I became worse in consequence of a great sorrow. While my husband was at Corfu, he was an officer on a warship. I lost our only son in 6 days from influenza. He was a delightful child of 10, who was the joy of our life. Alone and overwhelmed with sorrow, I reproached myself bitterly for not having been able to protect and save our treasure. I wanted to lose my reason or to die. When my husband returned, which was not until February, he took me to a new doctor who ordered me various remedies and the waters of Mont d'Or. I spent the month of August in that station, but on my return I had a recurrence of the asthma, and I realized with despair that in every respect I was getting worse and worse. It was then that I had the pleasure of meeting you. Without expecting much good from it, I must say, I went to your October lectures, and I am happy to tell you that by the end of November I was cured. Insomnia, feelings of oppression, gloomy thoughts disappeared as though by magic, and I am now well and strong and full of courage. With physical health, I have recovered my mental equilibrium, and but for the ineffaceable wound caused by my child's loss, I could say that I am perfectly happy. Why did I not meet you before? My child would have known a cheerful and courageous mother. Thank you again and again, Mr. Coue. Yours most grateful, E. Etier, Rue de Lille, Paris, April 1920. I can now take up again the struggle I have sustained for 30 years and which had exhausted me. I found in you last August a wonderful and providential help, coming home to Lorraine for a few days. Ill and with my heart full of sorrow, I dreaded the shock which I should feel at the sight of the ruins and distress, and went away comforted and in good health. I was at the end of my tether, and unfortunately I am not religious. I longed to find someone who could help me, and meeting you by chance at my cousin's house, you gave me the very help I sought. I can now work in a new spirit. I suggest to my unconscious to reestablish my physical equilibrium, and I do not doubt that I shall regain my former good health. A very noticeable improvement has already shown itself, and you will better understand my gratitude when I tell you that, suffering from diabetes with a renal complication, I have had several attacks of glaucoma, but my eyes are now recovering their suppleness. Since then, my sight has become almost normal, and my general health has much improved. Mademoiselle T.H., Professor at the Young Ladies' College of Shea, January 1920. I read my thesis with success and was awarded the highest mark and the congratulations of the jury. Of all these honors, a large share belongs to you, and I do not forget it. I only regretted that you were not present to hear your name referred to with warm and sympathetic interest by the distinguished jury. You can consider that the doors of the university have been flung wide open to your teaching. Do not thank me for it, for I owe you far more than you can owe me. C.H. Baudouin, Professor of the Institut J.J. Rousseau, Geneva. I admire your courageousness and am quite sure that it will help to turn many friends into a useful and intelligent direction. I confess that I have personally benefited by your teaching and have made my patients do so too. At the nursing home, we try to apply your method collectively and have already obtained visible results in this way. Dr. Berillon, Paris, March 1920. I have received your kind letter as well as your very interesting lecture. I am glad to see that you make a rational connection between hetero and autosuggestion. And I know particularly the passage in which you say that the will must not intervene in autosuggestion. That is what a great number of professors of autosuggestion, unfortunately including a large number of medical men, do not realize at all. I also think that an absolute distinction should be established between autosuggestion and the training of the will. Dr. Van Velsen, Brussels, March 1920. What must you think of me? That I have forgotten you? Oh no, I assure you that I think of you with the most grateful affection, and I wish to repeat that your teachings are more and more efficacious. I never spend a day without using autosuggestion with increased success, and I bless you every day, for your method is the true one. Thanks to it, I am assimilating your excellent directions and am able to control myself better every day, and I feel I am stronger. I am sure that you would find it difficult to recognize in this woman, so active in spite of her 66 years, the poor creature who was so often ailing and who only began to be well, thanks to you and your guidance. May you be blessed for this, for the sweetest thing in the world is to do good to those around us. You do much and do a little, for which I thank God. Madame M. Saint-Brieuc. As I'm feeling better and better since I began to follow your method of autosuggestion, I should like to offer you my sincere thanks. The lesion in the lungs has disappeared. My heart is better. I have no more albumin. In short, I am quite well. Madame Lemaitre, Richmond, June 1920. Your booklet and lecture interested us very much. It would be desirable for the good of humanity that they should be published in several languages, so that they might penetrate to every race and country and thus reach a greater number of unfortunate people who suffer from the wrong use of that all-powerful and almost divine faculty, the most important to man, as you affirm and prove so luminously and judiciously, which we call the imagination. I had already read many books on the will and had quite an arsenal of formula, thoughts, aphorisms, etc. Your phrases are conclusive. I do not think that ever before have compressed tablets of self-confidence, as I call your healing phrases, been condensed into typical formula in such an intelligent manner. Don Enrique C. Madrid. Your pamphlet on the self-control contains very strong arguments and very striking examples. I think that the substitution of imagination for the power of the will is a great progress. It is milder and more persuasive. A. F. Remarmont. I am happy to be able to tell you that my stomach is going on well. My metritis is also much better. My little boy had a gland in his thigh as big as an egg, which is gradually disappearing. E. L. Saint Clement, M. et M. After I had undergone 3 operations in my left leg on account of a local tuberculosis, that leg became ill again in September 1920. Several doctors declared that a new operation was necessary. They were about to open my leg from the knee to the ankle, and if the operation had failed, they would have had to perform an amputation. As I heard of your wondrous cures, I came and saw you for the first time on the 6th of November, 1920. After the séance, I felt immediately a little better. I exactly followed your instructions and went 3 times to you. At the 3rd time, I could tell you that I was completely cured. Madame L. Henry, Lorraine. I will not wait any longer to thank you heartily for all the good I owe you. Autosuggestion has positively transformed me, and I am now getting much better than I have been these many years. The symptoms of illness have disappeared little by little. The morbid symptoms have become rare and rarer, and all the functions of the body work now normally. The result is that, after having become thinner and thinner during several years, I have regained several kilos in a few months. I cannot do otherwise than bless the Coue system. L. Cans, A.M. Since 1917, my little girl has been suffering from epileptic crisis. Several doctors had told me that about the age of 14 or 15, they would disappear or become worse. Having heard of you, I sent her to you from the end of December till May. Now her cure is complete, for during 6 months she has had no relapse. Perrin Charles, Emile Nancy. For 8 years, I had suffered from a sinking of the uterus. After having practiced your autosuggestion for 5 months, I have been radically cured. I don't know how to express my deep gratitude. Madame Mlle, 6 Place du Marche, Toul. Having suffered from a glaucoma since 1917, I have consulted 2 oculists who told me that only an operation would put an end to my sufferings. But unfortunately, neither of them would assure me of a good result. In the month of June 1920, after having attended one of your seances, I felt much better. In September, I ceased to use the drops and pilocarpine, which were the daily bread of my eye, and since then, I have felt no more pain. My pupil is no more dilated, my eyes are normal. It is a real miracle. Madame M. A. Solus. A dedication to Mr. Coue by the author of a medical treatise. To Mr. Coue, who knew how to dissect the human soul and to extract from it a psychologic method founded on conscious autosuggestion. The master is entitled to the thanks of all. He has cleverly succeeded in disciplining the vagrant imagination and in associating it usefully with the will. Thus, he has given man the means of increasing tenfold his moral force by giving him confidence in himself. Dr. P.R. Frankfurt. It is difficult to speak of the profound influence exercised on me by your so kindly allowing me to view so often your work. Seeing it day by day, as I have done, it has impressed me more and more, and as you yourself said, there seems no limits to the possibilities and future scope of the principles you enunciate, not only in the physical life of children, but also in possibilities for changing the ideas how prevalent in punishment of crime, in government, in fact, in all the relations of life. Miss Josephine M. Richardson. When I came, I expected a great deal, but what I have seen, thanks to your great kindness, exceeds greatly my expectation. Montagu S. Monier Williams, M.D., London. End of section. If you could be kind, hit that like button and leave me a comment. I love reading your comments. All right, stay right here as we move on now to the next section, which is more good stuff, titled Fragments from Letters addressed to Madame Emile Leon, disciple of Emile Coue. For some time, I have been wanting to write and thank you most sincerely for having made known to me this method of autosuggestion. Thanks to your good advice, the attacks of nerves to which I was subject have entirely disappeared, and I am certain that I am quite cured. Further, I feel myself surrounded by a superior force which is an unfaltering guide, and by whose aid I surmount with ease the difficulties of life. Madame F. of Rue de Bognil, 4, Paris. Amazed at the result obtained by the autosuggestion which you made known to me, I thank you with all my heart. For a year, I have been entirely cured of articular rheumatism of the right shoulder, from which I had suffered for 8 years, and from chronic bronchitis, which I had had still longer. The numerous doctors I had consulted declared me incurable, but thanks to you and your treatment, I have found with perfect health the conviction that I possess the power to keep it. Mademoiselle L.T., Rue de Laus, 4, Paris. I want to tell you what excellent results Mr. Coue's wonderful method has produced in my case, and to express my deep gratitude for your valuable help. I have always been anemic and have had poor health, but after my husband's death I became much worse. I suffered with my kidneys. I could not stand upright. I also suffered from nervousness and aversions. All that has gone, and I am a different person. I no longer suffer. I have more endurance, and I am more cheerful. My friends hardly recognize me, and I feel a new woman. I intend to spread the news of this wonderful method, so clear, so simple, so beneficent, and to continue to get from it the best results for myself as well. Mlle, Paris, June 1920. I cannot find words to thank you for teaching me your good method. What happiness you have brought to me. I thank God who led me to make your acquaintance, for you have entirely transformed my life. Formerly, I suffered terribly at each monthly period and was obliged to lie in bed. Now, all is quite regular and painless. It is the same with my digestion, and I am no longer obliged to live on milk as I used, and I have no more pain, which is a joy. My husband is astonished to find that when I travel, I have no more headaches, whereas before I was always taking tablets. Now, thanks to you, I need no remedies at all, but I do not forget to repeat 20 times morning and evening the phrase, you taught me. Every day, in every respect, I am getting better and better. BP, Paris, October 1920. In rereading the method, I find it more and more superior to all the developments inspired by it. It surpasses all that has been invented of so-called scientific systems, themselves based on the uncertain result of an uncertain science, which feels its way and deceives itself, and of which the means of observation are also fairly precarious in spite of what the learned say. Mr. Coue, on the other hand, suffices for everything, goes straight to the aim, attains it with certainty, and in freeing his patient, carries generosity and knowledge to its highest point, since he leaves to the patient himself the merit of this freedom and the use of a marvelous power. No, really, there is nothing to alter in this method. It is, as you so strikingly say, a gospel. To report faithfully his acts and words and spread his method, that is what must be done, and what I shall do myself as far as in any way possible. Signed, P.C. I am amazed at the results that I have obtained and continue to obtain daily by the use of the excellent method you have taught me of conscious auto-suggestion. I was ill mentally and physically. Now I am well and am also nearly always cheerful. That is to say that my depression has given way to cheerfulness, and certainly I do not complain of the change, for it is very preferable, I assure you. How wretched I used to be! I could digest nothing. Now I digest perfectly well, and the intestines act naturally. I also used to sleep so badly, whereas now the nights are not long enough. I could not work, but now I'm able to work hard. Of all my ailments, nothing is left but an occasional touch of rheumatism, which I feel sure will disappear like the rest by continuing your good method. I cannot find words to express my deep gratitude to you. Signed, Madame Friery, Boulevard Malesherbes, Paris. End of section. Stay right here. Hit that like button, and if you like what you see, subscribe to the channel. So grab your coffee, grab your tea, and depending on what time, grab your wine as I turn the page to the next section titled Extracts from Letters Addressed to Mlle Kaufmant, Disciple of Emile Coue. As I have been feeling better and better since following the method of auto-suggestion which you taught me, I feel I owe you the sincerest thanks. I am now qualified to speak of the great and undeniable advantage of this method. As to it alone, I owe my recovery. I had a lesion in the lungs which caused me to spit blood. I suffered from lack of appetite, daily vomiting, loss of flesh, and obstinate constipation. The spitting of blood lessened at once and soon entirely disappeared. The vomiting ceased, the constipation no longer exists. I have got back my appetite, and in 2 months I have gained nearly a stone in weight. In the face of such results observed, not only by parents and friends, but also by the doctor who has been attending me for several months, it is impossible to deny the good effect of autosuggestion and not to declare openly that it is to your method that I owe my return to life. I authorize you to publish my name if it is likely to be of service to others, and I beg you to believe me. Yours most gratefully, Jean Gilly, 15 Ave, Bourguignon, Nice, March 1918. I consider it a duty to tell you how grateful I am to you for acquainting me with the benefits of autosuggestion. Thanks to you, I no longer suffer from those agonizing and frequent heart stoppages, and I have regained my appetite, which I had lost for months. Still more, as a hospital nurse, I must thank you from my heart for the almost miraculous recovery of one of my patients. Seriously ill with tuberculosis, which caused him to vomit blood constantly and copiously. His family and myself were very anxious when heaven sent you to him. After your first visit, the spitting of blood ceased, his appetite returned, and after a few more visits made by you to his sick bed, all the organs, little by little, resumed their normal functions. At last, one day we had the pleasant surprise and joy of seeing him arrive at your private seance where, before those present, he himself made the declaration of his cure, due to your kind intervention. Thank you with all my heart. Yours gratefully and sympathetically, signed A. Kettner, 26 Ave, Borriglione, Nice, March 1918. From day to day, I have put off writing to you to thank you for the cure of my little Sylvain. I was in despair, the doctors telling me that there was nothing more to be done but to try the sanatorium of Aricon or Juicourt, near Dunkirk. I was going to do so when Madame Collard advised me to go and see you. I hesitated as I felt skeptical about it, but I now have the proof of your skill, for Sylvain has completely recovered. His appetite is good, his pimples and his glands are completely cured, and what is still more extraordinary, since the first time that we went to see you, he has not coughed any more, not even once. The result is that since the month of June, he has gained 6 pounds. I can never thank you enough, and I proclaim to everyone the benefits we have received. Signed, Madame Poisson, Liverdun, August 1920. How can I prove to you my deep gratitude? You have saved my life. I had a displaced heart, which caused terrible attacks of suffocation, which went on continually. In fact, they were so violent that I had no rest day or night, in spite of daily injections of morphia. I could eat nothing without instant vomiting. I had violent pains in the head, which became all swollen, and as a result, I lost my sight. I was in a lamentable state, and my whole organism suffered from it. I had abscesses on the liver. The doctor despaired of me after having tried everything: bloodletting, cupping and scarifying, poultices, ice, and every possible remedy without any improvement. I had recourse to your kindness on the doctor's advice. After your first visits, the attacks became less violent and less frequent, and soon disappeared completely. The bad and troubled nights became calmer, and I was able to sleep the whole night through without waking. The pains I had in the liver ceased completely. I could begin to take my food again, digesting it perfectly well, and I again experienced the feeling of hunger, which I had not known for months. My headaches ceased, and my eyes, which had troubled me so much, are quite cured, since I now am able to occupy myself with a little manual work. At each visit that you paid me, I felt that my organs were resuming their natural functions. I was not the only one to observe it, for the doctor, who came to see me every week, found me much better, and finally there came recovery, since I could get up after having been in bed 11 months. I got up without any discomfort, not even the least giddiness, and in a fortnight I could go out. It is indeed thanks to you that I am cured, for the doctor says that for all that the medicines did me, I might just as well have taken none. After having been given up by 2 doctors who held out no hope of cure, here I am cured all the same, and it is indeed a complete cure, for now I can eat meat and I can eat a pound of bread every day. How can I thank you? For I repeat, it is thanks to the suggestion you taught me that I owe my life. Signed, Jean Grosjean, Nancy, November 1920. Personally, the science of autosuggestion, for I consider it as entirely a science, has rendered me great services. But truth compels me to declare that if I continue to interest myself particularly in it, it is because I find in it the means of exercising true charity. In 1915, when I was present for the first time at Mr. Coue's lectures, I confess that I was entirely skeptical. Before facts 100 times repeated in my presence, I was obliged to surrender to evidence and recognize that autosuggestion always acted, though naturally in different degrees, on organic diseases. The only cases, and those were very rare, in which I have seen it fail are nervous cases, neurasthenia, or imaginary illness. There's no need to tell you again that Mr. Coue, like yourself, but even more strongly, insists on this point, that he never performs a miracle or cures anybody, but that he shows people how to cure themselves. I confess that on this point I still remain a trifle incredulous, for if Mr. Coue does not actually cure people, he is a powerful aid to their recovery, in giving heart to the sick, in teaching them never to despair, in uplifting them, in leading them higher than themselves into moral spheres that the majority of humanity, plunged in materialism, has never reached. The more I study autosuggestion, the better I understand the divine law of confidence and love that Christ preached us. Thou shalt love thy neighbor, and by giving a little of one's heart and of one's moral force to help him to rise if he has fallen and to cure himself if he is ill. Here also, from my Christian point of view, is the application of autosuggestion, which I consider as a beneficial and comforting science, which helps us to understand that as the children of God, we all have within us forces whose existence we did not suspect, which properly directed serve to elevate us morally and to heal us physically. Those who do not know your science, or who only know it imperfectly, should not judge it without having seen the result it gives and the good it does. Believe me to be your faithful admirer. Signed, Mlle, Nancy, November 1920. End of section. All right. Wow. Before you head over to the next video, please do hit subscribe and thank you so much. And I'll meet you at the next video for The Miracle Within.